Ladies and gentlemen, you want to know why Western civilization is so messed up? Why we have so many problems? Well, I'll tell you why. And it goes back farther than you could possibly imagine. Alright, it goes back to the beginning of time. Okay? So, I'm going to talk to you about Greek mythology because it goes to the heart of our Western civilization. Some of the very ideas that shaped who we are and show why we have so many problems. Okay, so let's start with this. There was this dude, his name was Kronos. Okay? Now, Kronos was a big, bad titan. Okay? He was king of the universe. He ruled all things. Now, this guy was the man, or he was the titan. He ruled over everything. Okay? He had complete control. And he was married to this babe. Her name was Rhea. Okay, she was also a titan. I don't know how cute she could be if she was a titan, but you know, they were married, very happy. Except Kronos had some major issues, you know, and he got a lot of his issues from his parenting. You can't blame the guy, I guess. You don't get along with your father. A lot of times you get issues when you're raising your kids. So let's start with the way this guy became powerful from the very beginning. So his daddy was a man named Uranus, okay? Now, I'm not going to make any jokes here, but anyway, Kronos had issues with Uranus, so he decided to banish him. Okay, Kronos fought with his dad Uranus, and they had a big long war, and Kronos won, and Uranus left very unhappily. And he left Kronos to rule the universe. However, before he was banished, he pronounced a curse on his son Kronos. Now, this was a very scary curse for Kronos, and it sort of further fueled his issues as a father. Basically, the curse that Uranus pronounced was that Kronos would follow in his father's footsteps, like father, like son. Just as Uranus was banished by his son, Kronos would also be banished by his own children, defeated by them. Okay, so now you get the idea of the kinds of problems this man, Kronos, has. Alright, or this titan. Okay, so what does Kronos decide to do? Well, he decides that every time he has kids, he is going to do something a little bit crazy. He's going to eat them. Okay, so every time he has a kid, he promptly decides to put it in his mouth, and the kid goes into his belly where he sort of lives for eternity. His first son was someone you all know very closely, a man by the name of Hades. Okay, I guess you can't really blame the guy, you know, when your father eats you, you're the firstborn son, and the first thing your father can think to do is devour you. You're going to grow up with a lot of issues, okay? So Hades obviously grew up, and he had a ton of issues. He grew up in the belly of his daddy, Kronos. Now, Kronos' second son was a man by the name of Neptune. Neptune didn't grow up quite as badly as his son or as his brother Hades did, but you know, he also had his issues. This man was god of the sea, and he was lord of a lot of water and big blue oceans, you know, a little bit more peaceful. Maybe he sort of took a meditative route later in life, and that kind of led him to be a little bit more kindly than his brother Hades. But also, he grew up in the belly of his father Kronos. Okay, now let's get to the last son. By the way, there's a whole lot of other gods in between here. I'm just going over the most important ones. Hades, Neptune, and the one that we all know, fear, and are in awe of, Zeus. Now Zeus, we all know him as the god of thunder and lightning, didn't quite suffer the same fate as his two brothers, because his mommy, Rhea, decided to look after him. So, when Zeus was born, Rhea did something very clever. She got a gigantic rock, okay, the size of her son, and she covered it in a baby's swaddling clothes. and that took the place of her son in the belly of his father Kronos. Zeus, at the mercy of his mother, was carted off to the island of Crete. Not a very big island for a god, but one that played host to him for his early life, nevertheless. On Crete, there was a magic goat. This goat was named Amalthea, and it provided Zeus with the sustenance he needed to grow up as a very powerful god. So Zeus, as we all know, grew up, became incredibly powerful on the milk of the goat Amalthea, also with the help of many nymphs and other creatures that roamed the world at the time that his mother had persuaded to help raise her son Zeus. Okay, and when he grew up, he decided he wanted brothers and sisters. You know, he was a little bit lonely. He grew up as an only son without a mother and a father. His mother was a goat. Okay, you wonder why he has some sort of weird ideas floating around. It's because his mother that raised him was a goat. Anyways, Zeus grows up and he wants to free his brothers and his sisters and all the other gods that Kronos devoured. In order to help him do this, he meets a god Metis. Now, Metis has a magical potion for Zeus. This potion, if swallowed by Kronos, will cause him to vomit out all of his brothers and sisters, Zeus's brothers and sisters. So somehow he gets the potion, gets it to be drunk by Kronos, and Kronos spurts out all of his children. Now they're laying there in a giant heap of a mess. Kronos is furious. He's a very angry god. And all of Zeus's brothers and sisters promptly ally with him. Hades and Neptune and all the other gods and goddesses ally with Zeus. Now Kronos, a very, very angry man at the time, decides that he is going to wage war on the gods. So the gods all allied together on a very famous mountain that we all know as Olympus. Meanwhile, Kronos and his cronies, all get together on another mountain. This mountain is called Thessaly. So it's Olympus versus Thessaly, the Olympians versus the Thessalonians. I guess I'll call them for now. Anyway, the war wages for ages and ages. There is much bloodshed. Many gods are battle-scarred, and no one's making any progress. The Olympians and the Thessalonians battle it out. However, Zeus eventually decides that he's not making much progress against Kronos, and Kronos decides that he's not making much progress against Zeus. Zeus decides that he needs something else. He needs an edge. And so he allies with the Cyclops and the giants. And two of them have very peculiar names and very peculiar powers. These powers are thunder and lightning. Anyways, the powers of thunder and lightning are given to Zeus, and Zeus is able to wage war on his father because he has these two particular powers. With the powers of thunder and lightning, he is able to defeat his father and cast him down from Thessaly. And Zeus inevitably becomes king of all the gods. And his father Kronos is banished for all time. So this is the story of how Zeus became king of all the gods and also king of the universe. It's also a very straightforward story about how the Western world got so messed up. As you can see, it started from the very beginning. Didn't happen later on. It's not like things sort of went awry later in life. It was very messed up from the very beginning. gods had issues with their daddies, who had issues with their daddies, who also had issues with eating their children, and a god was raised by a goat. And another god, eventually the gods had so many problems that they decided to split up into different factions and different groups, but that's all for later tales. For now, that's all I have, and this is the making and the beginning of the world as we know it. Thank you very much.